What's going on, guys? It is Murdering here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to be talking about Lydia the Deathsiren. Now she's finally out, and Faction Wars has been rather significantly nerfed, so a lot more people are going to have this champion. I'm going to be showing you the preferred build that I like, the more common option, but hopefully I'll be able to swing that a little bit. There is kind of a meet me halfway build you can do, but I really think people are missing the point with this champion with how good she can actually be. So first, Lydia, obviously Dark Elf legendary support champion. Support champion is probably why most people build her a certain way and not the way I build her, but we're going to get into that after we go over her base stats. We have 20,000 health, 1.2 thousand defense, 903 attack, 110 base speed, which is definitely very good. We do have the weak crit damage as well as 40 base resistance. Now most people already know what she does. Just in case you don't, she does have 100 resist aura in the arena. We have an A1 that has a 100% chance when booked of placing a fear debuff and increasing the duration of poison sensitivity, which has synergy with the other parts of her kit. She also has a chance to use this A1 on any enemy that does in fact inflict freeze stun, fear, or true fear on the target. So there's a lot of cool interactions with her passive here. Moving on to her A2, kind of the highlight of her kit, we have an AoE damage dealing ability, which does in fact give you the defense down and AoE weaken, which is definitely really strong. Also places a 25% strengthen and a 30% increased speed buff, which is absolutely huge. Moving on to our A3 ability now, we have attacks one enemy 2 times. This is the hardest hitting of all of her kits as far as damage goes, applies poison sensitivity, and the first hit has a chance to apply block buffs and block cooldown debuffs on the second hit. Moving on to her passive, a lot of people were talking about this before she came out. They said she's going to be ridiculously strong. When she came out, people were disappointed. I gave a surprisingly accurate prediction on this champion when they released her notes, and what I predicted actually came true, where she's good, however you have to know how to use her. And I was actually just joking with some of my clanmates that a lot of people who are using Lydia in Platinum Arena right now are currently having their team farmed between 6 and 8 seconds because they're really thinking she's a lot better than she actually is, the way she's using her, and hopefully I'll be able to cover that and kind of show you where I'm at with how I actually built this champion. So what this passive does is it denies enemy revive attempts. If the champion's dead, it does revive the champion. If the champion isn't dead, it will revive any dead champion with 50% health and 50% turn meter, also giving this champion an extra turn if there are no dead allies, which is really good. So there's a lot of cool things here. Some people were even disappointed with how she looked as far as her, I guess, avatar went. Doesn't really bother me. Her wings look really cool. I like her model a lot, but that's besides the point. Let's go over how I geared this champion and what made me actually gear this champion this specific way. So as we all know, I am a gigantic advocate in building champions with full damage. So I did just that with our friend Lydia the Deathsiren here. 4.3 thousand attack, nothing crazy, 100% crit, 273 crit damage, 188 speed, key takeaway here, 110 accuracy, 159 resistance. This is the build 1 that I'm talking about, and as far as masteries go, I am taking Helm Smasher and the accuracy tree as well. So once I start showing you some examples, you're going to understand why I built her with full damage, even though I've heard that she doesn't hit hard, and pretty much she doesn't hit hard is what I've been hearing over and over again, yet I'm able to use her in Platinum Arena. And granted, I know I do have above average gear, however, you're going to see that I'm going to be doing significantly more damage than you actually need to kill these champions. So if I were to get rid of 40% crit damage, 1000 attack, it's still going to do the job that I'm going to show you very shortly. Before I move on to showcasing how I built this champion, I do want to talk about the second more popular build for Lydia. I say more popular because I think more people just don't know about the build I'm about to show you here. And that is going to be building her with full accuracy, lots of survivability. Now, if you look at her kit, while she does have that defense down on weekend, she doesn't have the ability to strip buffs. So it's very important to realize that while you are giving yourself strength and increased speed, doesn't have a lot of synergy with people already using Lysandra. It has counter synergy against someone like a Valkyrie, because you're going to run a turn meter booster who's already going to proc Valkyrie's passive. Now you're adding 2 more buffs to that on a debuffer, as opposed to just one with the masteries, where she applies 1 shield to herself instead of providing your entire arena team with 2 buffs, which is pretty much going to guarantee you that they do in fact cut you off, regardless of what you've done, or a countermeasure to make sure that doesn't happen. So as I was explaining, full accuracy, and I see people building her rather tanky or building her with resistance. Now here's the problem, and I think people are getting baited by her aura. They see that she has 100 resistance aura, so they're stacking resistance on her. However, stacking a champion with high resistance, high speed, and high accuracy is absolutely ridiculous and insane. I doubt anyone can really do it. Efficiency, and when I say high accuracy, I'm talking about 750 or higher accuracy, 750 or higher resistance. I'm pretty sure it's impossible with the gear that you could possibly roll on a champion at the top level of the game. And I'm always comparing the top level of the game, especially with Lydia, because you do get her from completing faction wars, and even though it is a lot easier, most people are going to be at least gold 4 once they complete every single stage and 3-star all of the faction wars. The major flaw I see with that build is, outside of debuffing and giving your team buffs, Lydia doesn't provide anything else, and it can be countered extremely easily. An immunity set makes Lydia useless. If you have to run Madame Saris and Lydia together, you are wasting way too many spots in your arena team, and it's very inefficient. So I thought about that right away, and I said, what can I do differently to make something make sense? Now that I've explained that more common build, it's definitely something you can do. I'm also going to show you dungeons and why that's not an optimal build in dungeons as well. Let's head straight over to the arena so I can kind of show you and help you guys understand what I'm talking about here. So as we can see, we are in Platinum, 3,753 points currently in the Platinum arena. We're going to attack this Valkyrie team here. And as you can see, their player power is higher. Not that that matters, but people love commenting about that, so we're going to talk about it. So right here, what I'm doing is, I looked at the teams and I said, okay, Madame Saris, Lydia on the same team, counter synergy, I'm just wasting spots. The same thing if I built all of these champions with the ability to debuff. What I'm going to do here, and I'm going to break it down for you once I get into this match. So here, this is obviously going to assume you're going first, which is, you just have to expect that when you're in the arena and when you're trying to showcase something. So what we're going to do is we're going to put increased speed on everybody, but we're also going to push down the turn meter of them, kind of counteracting Valkyrie's passive here. So let's use this A3. We decreased their turn meter. Our turn meter did get decreased. Now we're going to use Gerptok Mossbeard, who is a sleeper champion in pretty much every sense. We're going to use his A3 here, and he's literally how to counter 99% of the meta champions in the arena at the moment. Then we're going to use Ghostborn, probably not the best. He does have attack up, which is why I'm using him, but he can weak hit on Trunda as well as Folly. And so he actually did weak hit on both of them. Now look what Gerptuk just added to the table. My Lydia, which is my damage dealer, did get cut off. However, all they did was apply damage to my team. There's no counter attack, there's no shield, and everything's perfect. So as we can see, Trunda does not have defense down, so we're going to try to decrease the turn meter, which we did here. Now we're going to use Lydia's A2 here to try to kill their team, which, like we just saw, 90,000, 70,000. No one's building that much health on their champions in the arena, so she's definitely a viable damage dealer, especially when paired with someone, in my opinion, as broken as Gerptuk Mossbeard. I'll probably do a video about that because I haven't really seen it covered. However, I haven't really watched a lot of YouTube videos lately. But Gerptuk is definitely a very strong champion. He has incredible synergy with someone like Lydia, since he does provide that damage bonus as well. So these are all things to consider when going forward. So the next question becomes, what happens if the enemy team actually survives a hit and Lydia can't kill them? So assuming you don't have my gear, which most people probably won't, you can't build your Lydia to do as much damage as mine. What happens if the enemy team actually survives? Now, this actually isn't a terrible thing to have happen. And the reason why it's not terrible is because Lydia's going to kill somebody. That's pretty much guaranteed. As we can see there, awesome synergy to where Madame Ceres put the fear on Gerptuk, making her counterattack and actually one-shotting Madame Ceres, prompting our Molly tanker to, instead of provoke our entire team, which would have been very bad for our team, what she did instead was she burned that res and she pushed Lydia's turn meter all the way to the front of the list, where ideally I would have wanted her a little bit faster, so she would A2 first, then the enemy team would go and whoever was left would try to revive, giving Lydia a second turn, then she would use her A3 and one-shot whoever's left. This works the best against teams who have a Duchess, so let's use the A2 here, see what we can do. As you can see, easy one-shot on everyone, even someone tanky like Molly Tankard, who's obviously running lots of defense. So back to what I was saying about a Duchess, let's say they had a Duchess instead of an Arbiter here, and we killed all 3 of their champions but the Duchess. Duchess would then go to revive, it would increase Lydia's turn meter, then she would get to use the A3, and I guarantee you there's no Duchess in the game, especially against a properly built Lydia who can survive an A2 and a double hit A3 with defense down on them. So that just shows you the strength of Lydia, what she can actually do in Arena. Now this mostly applies to people who are in Gold 4 who really want to take advantage of this. If you want to do this in Platinum and in very high Platinum, this is a very hard team to build overall. The stats on these champions are very good. Myself personally, I don't think I can actually make a top tier team with this compilation. If I was going to use this team, I'd probably use Arbiter, Madame Ceres, Gerptuk, and Lydia. However, I would be very close to having the proper gear. I think I can think of maybe 5 people in the entire game who would actually have the gear to be able to farm almost any single team, Hegemon, Tormund, doesn't matter, with those 4 champions, and to have a very high win rate at that. Since we're speaking to the majority of the player base now, we're going to be in Gold Arena. This team's absolutely going to dominate pretty much any defense you face. It counters a ton of people. If you're facing a Tormund or Hegemon, all you have to do is put 3 of your champions in immunity gear and kind of treat it like a blender. Even if there's a Hegemon, you can throw someone like a Molly Tankard in there, use a different leader aura, and make sure Molly Tankard's passive is increasing everyone's turn meter, so they're actually going first after the Hegemon. Lots of really cool things you can do with Lydia in this build. So now that we have Arena covered, let's move on to Dungeons and why I prefer this build in Dungeons as well. Now, while I'm showing you this run, I'm going to go over kind of why the defensive build is also an option if you choose to pursue that one. However, this is the one change I would make. Make sure Lydia has a 100% crit rate. You are losing so much potential with her not having 100% crit rate. It's pretty much a waste. So building her with 100% crit rate is going to make everything very strong. Now the reason why I would prefer a damage dealer over any other type of Lydia, being accuracy, support based, and full tanky, is because if you really want to get the most value out of every single dungeon, you would have to speed tune Lydia, since she's really offering nothing besides her debuffs and her buffs, and every single dungeon is different. You can't just use one speed and it's going to work for all of the dungeons you're looking to farm. By giving her the ability to apply damage, you're always going to run a revive champion anyways, because you're not going to keep strengthen on your team for every single wave, every single hit, unless, like I mentioned already, you speed to them, which is going to be very difficult and way more work than you actually need to do. So by giving her damage and also bringing someone who already revives on top of it, since a reviver and a debuffer don't really go hand in hand, usually it's one or the other, this makes her a really strong champion and gives her even more value than most people probably get out of this champion. So as we can see here, I am using Dracomorph, who has a defense down weaken. However, just look at Lydia's damage compared to someone like a Dracomorph, compared to someone like a Royal Guard. We have 1.5 million damage from Royal Guard, Dracomorph at just under 900,000 damage, Lydia at 1.7 million damage, doing the most in the entire run. and she still served her purpose of applying that increased speed, that strength and buff to help me survive the waves. And while this isn't the fastest run, it's 100% win rate since the Duchess will never die with a strength and buff on her. And it's very easy for the Duchess to keep cycling block debuff on herself and the team with that increased speed. So this is just another example of why I'm always going to favor giving damage to your support champions regardless who they are. Whether it's an Arbiter, Lysandra, while you are stacking as much speed as possible, try to focus on crit rate as well, because it's going to help you in every single part of the game. It's going to eliminate lots of RNG with champions in the enemy waves and dungeons who should be dying, but you got an unlucky Helm Smasher proc. You can use those support champions to cycle through their turns, have 100% crit rate, and have enough damage to kill them, so your main role champions like Dragomorph or Royal Guard aren't wasting unnecessary cooldowns, since the AI in this game isn't as good as it should be. The same thing applies for Arena. If you end up not killing a champion, even if you're not using Lydia, having the enemy Siphi or Duchess surviving, your Lysandra or Arbiter crit capped can be the difference between you winning or you losing based on you killing their support role champion. So that's a very important point not a lot of people talk about or understand, that will improve lots of things for you as the player. So that is my breakdown on Lydia. I'm not going to go over Faction Wars because Faction Wars obviously is already done. The only other thing I can't talk about is in fact Clan Boss here. Now Lydia is definitely strong in the Clan Boss, however she's not an ideal substitute for someone like a Dragomorph. She doesn't have any poisons. Also going back to the fact of give her 100% crit rate and she'll have some added bonus in a Clan Boss battle. However, any team you can put Lydia on that can do any amount of damage, Dragomorph will always be able to do millions and millions of more damage. Bane will be able to do millions more damage as well, so you have to keep this in mind when comparing champions and where you want to use them. I can definitely build a Lydia team that will do over 100 million damage, however it's not going to be a good showing of the champion because I'm still going to need someone like a Dragomorph whose job Lydia is supposed to overtake. Now the best team in my opinion that would fit Lydia in the Clan Boss relates to the video I literally just released about the best speed team in the entire game. All of the speeds are under 220 speed. The champion I was currently using was Apothecary. Lydia is definitely a better option there. So this was a speed team with no counterattack at all, and I believe the team was Grush the Mangler as the epic. We had Venus, we had Alton, we had Apothecary, and finally we had Kreela with that ally attack. Now, the benefit of someone like a Lydia in that composition is Lydia actually replaces Apothecary and Venus and allows you to put in a real poisoner, since Venus is a very inconsistent poisoner even with the counterattack. So with that team I was actually able to 2-key Ultra Nightmare on the Void Affinity. If I added in Lydia, that team would be doing 45 or 50 million damage with a speed team, no counterattack, which is absolutely insane, and that is one composition where I can say Lydia can do a good job. However, the best team is still going to be Lydia and Dragomorph instead of Apothecary and Venus. So while Lydia is good in the sense where she's applying the strength and buff as well as the speed buff, the defense down and weaken isn't as important. What's more important is poison sensitivity or someone like Dragomorph, and Dragomorph actually gets a giant buff with being on the same team as Lydia, since Lydia is going to keep the debuffs on the target, so Dragomorph won't be using his A3, which as everyone knows doesn't do damage to the boss. He's going to be able to cycle his hard-hitting A1 and his poisons over and over again, making sure that it's the best possible team. Alright guys, so that is my breakdown of Lydia the Deathsiren. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is my gear ridiculous? Obviously it is. Try to leave that comment out, even though it's probably going to be there anyways. But as always, thanks a bunch for the support. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you know the next time I drop a video, and I will see you all in my next upload.